everyone can hear me. I hope so. I'm looking at my volume bar and it's going green and orange yellow, so I guess you can hear me. Welcome, GameGuru live broadcast, the March edition. As you probably know, we host a broadcast now the last Saturday of every month, so this is the last Saturday of March. And for those who are celebrating, happy Easter. And right off the bat, I just want to show you something that we announced a couple of days ago, yesterday actually, which is some more eggs. Some of you might know that we actually already had an Easter gift kit, or a gift kit, which is free, so you can just go to Steam and you can get it. And we thought we'd add some more eggs and then tell you, just in case you didn't know about it, then now you know about it, and there's extra eggs. So that's our little Easter gift for everyone in the GameGuru Max community. But I won't have that holding to the screen. We'll go back to the GameGuru Max homepage until I've got something more interesting to show. This is a mostly Q&A, live Q&A, and we'll get to that shortly. But I have been asked by community luminaries to summarize what's been happening in the last 30 days. I won't make it an exhaustive summary. You can go into our GitHub repository and look through the commits if you want to drill down to the excruciating details. But I have prepared a summary. The top of and it's still top priority for us, which of course is bug fixing. As new bugs come in, we drop what we're doing and we fix those bugs. The biggest it got, I think, was 28 or 29 bugs extant on the issues board, which was intolerable because it went on to GitHub's 2 pages. 2 pages of bugs, no thank you. So in the last 30 days, we've got that back down to 6, and now I think it's something like 8 or 9. And amongst those, it wasn't just pure out-and-out fixes, which are rather boring. Along the way, there's tiny little functionality adds and improvements. So I'll just run through a list I've just prepared for this broadcast. As I said, it's not exhaustive and it's in order. So this is a chronological order of extra things you may not have noticed but actually has been added to the EXP build. And we did an update in March, middle of March, and a lot of these are in that publicly available update as well. So the first one is, traditionally you had all 9 weapon slots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and you just collect guns and weapons and they will be put into those slots. There was a request that maybe you don't want your game to have 9 slots, you just wanted 3 slots or 2 slots. So now you can actually block off weapon slots, and you can do that from the player start marker properties. We've added an exclude mesh feature in the model importer. So that's exclude mesh in respect to collision. So let's say you've got a multi-mesh model and there are some meshes that you do not want to be part of the physics mesh. Then you can exclude those. And so the practical upshot of that is I was sent a train model and I wanted to sort of remove the doors because I wanted the doors to be like separate dynamic objects that animate. But for the static, the bulk of the train, the walls, the floor, the seating, I still wanted all the physics collision for that. So I just excluded the doors and then completed the import, and I could jump and run around the train, inside the train, which is pretty cool. As always, and will continue for probably ever, is script improvements. Lots of script improvements. Actually, if you go through the commit, you'll get snowblind on the number of script updates that we've put in, but all necessary, some large, some small, all important. We've improved the launch speed, so when you run GameGuru Max, the time it takes from clicking the launch button to getting into the hub is now 2-3 seconds quicker on some systems. And we've got you may not know this, but there's an F11 mode when you're in test game, and previously all it did was show the FPS, but it's been important with our recent performance work to know what the graphics card it's running on. If you have 2 graphics cards in your system, you might be running on the slower graphics card. So we've displayed the graphics card, and also we've added some extra code to detect the faster GPU and default to that by default. And a breakage system, I'll show you that actually in the next part of our broadcast, where I get to show a few things, not everything, just a few things. And it goes without saying, because we mentioned this in the last broadcast, performance. And I won't itemize all the different performance improvements. Suffice it to say, and this leads on to the second of the requests from community luminaries, which not only to summarise the progress, but what are our goals as we move forward. Well, performance was the goal, specifically performance by the end of March running at 60 FPS on my crappy gaming laptop. Now maybe it's not really crappy, it's just compared to all the other stuff I've got, it's the slowest gaming laptop I've got. It's an i5 and a 1050, so you can go and look that on Passmark. It's not rocket fueled, it's okay, but it is about four years old, and it isn't the fastest gaming laptop even then. And we got it to 59.6 FPS consistent, and it then jumped into 60 every now and again. Now there are some sacrifices, and I'm not ready to show you live demonstrations and side-by-sides yet. I still want to dress up and improve how you get to change the graphics options from low, medium and high, which is a big player in getting all the demos to run at 60 FPS on a 4-year-old gaming laptop. And the third part of the pre-questions is, well, what's next? Because obviously we'll be talking again in 30 days, and next is something after performance, and that's going to be stability and compatibility. And what does even that mean? Well, we're going to go to the Steam statistics and look at all of the machines that are actively running running the Steam client, and it gathers that data for us, and we get to figure out how many of the computers and the PC systems out there today can run GameGuru Max at some speed between 30 and 60 FPS. So it's not necessarily chasing performance on every single PC that's out there, but it's stable and it's compatible, which means you run it and boom. And to that end, and it was great to use I think it's called the DXVK, which is basically an abstraction, which takes all the DirectX 11 calls, converts them to Vulkan calls, and it gets it to run on some AMD graphics cards. But it's not an elegant solution, it's always been a bit of a hack. So we've taken the plunge, and it's going to arrive in a couple of days, an AMD RX 5500 XT 4GB of video memory, which is guaranteed to show this black screen issue. And so maybe we should have done this a while ago, but it's time to do it properly and to debug one line at a time, find out why DX11 on certain AMD cards and on certain drivers have this black screen thing. And if it turns out to be that all the light intensity values are zeros, I'm going to kick something. Not too hard, I don't want to break any limbs. But yeah, that's on its way, and that's an example of stability and compatibility. Okay, let me show you some stuff, because I imagine you're sick of staring at this GameGuru Max free trial screen. And what an intro that was. But before I go any further, probably should have done this a bit earlier, but I'm just going to scroll through the chat. Okay, must be me then. La 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 la. Actually, switching back to classic one. Da 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 da. Decent, good while ago, 10 years ago. More eggs. Okay, so I'm guessing we're okay. Broadcast is going strong. I have decided not to use the satellite internet. It's just because the latency is it's twice as slow as sort of the landline, and we've had problems in the last broadcast and the one before, and I suspect it was latency, not necessarily the speed of the bandwidth. So switch to landline, and hopefully this produces a better broadcast experience. Even if maybe it drops some of the bit rate so you don't get the high quality stuff. But let me show you some stuff. So I've still got GameGuru Max up and running, and I think I'll pick my Breakable level, because it's I want to show you three things. I'm going to show you that F11, show you the graphics card name. I'm going to show you the Breakables as well, but before I need that, let me just show you, there's a new item here, group list. I added it because I needed to understand there was a bug which related to group data corruption, and I couldn't really get a picture of what the data was. I mean, I could step through it, but I just wanted something that just at a glance. And I realised, well, that actually be useful for everyone to see at a glance, all of the groups, not just the smart objects and the groups that you've got thumbnails, but when you just sort of highlight an area and click a group, boom, it creates a group. So now you can get to see a big list of all the groups. This level doesn't have any, but I just wanted to point it out that This is really a nice drop down to get all the different kinds of views of how you want to sort of see your level data. And I think group list will increasingly become important because we used to call them prefabs, but no matter what we call them, going back a decade, they've always been quite useful. So I think it's probably going to play a greater role down the road. And I'll show you this breakable crate. It's not spectacular, but it didn't exist, at least on my computer, a week ago. So I'll show you this. And the zombie comes out. So what did you just see there? Well, this is a new script called Destructible. I stole Necrim's icon. If it's close enough, maybe it'll get tweaked. And there is something similar called, I think it's called Break Object, but this does slightly different things. This model, this crate model, actually has a complete crate mesh, and then has about 36 fragment meshes, and it also has an animation that moves those fragments in a sort of shatter and fall animation. And this script controls the hiding and showing of those limbs, plays the animation, and then gets rid of it before it looks a bit silly. This is just phase one of 2 phases. The second phase is, instead of using any animation, you give all 36 fragments to the physics system, and then each piece will just go its merry way based on the physical environment, which of course allows you to put crates up in the sky, you can shatter them or destroy them, and then the bits will come raining down, and then the individual bits will have a life timer on it, and then they'll fade out. But let me show you another thing it does, because notice that zombie couldn't really get at me. That's because if we go to the nav mesh, you'll actually see there is only one way through here, but these crates actually have nav mesh blockers, so they also switch on, and then when you destroy them, you've destroyed the crate, thus the nav mesh blocker, and then the zombie can get through the gap and attack. So that's your quick introduction to the breakable system, or at least phase one of the breakable system. Oh, and whilst I'm running, I'll just press F11 if it works. No, I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Yeah, it does work, I just had to wait. Right, so hardware info mode, graphics card is the Radeon RX 580 series and the resolution 920 1080. Yes, I did think the Radeon RX 580 series with the latest drivers would cause the black screen issue. It didn't. It did not. So that was a bit of a that was a purchase. Well, I didn't really purchase, I swapped it for a graphics card from the community, but it wasn't sufficient, so that's why we've got another one. Don't worry about the 60 FPS on this. The Radeon RX 580 series is a pretty decent card, and the computer that it sits inside is also a decent system, so didn't have to do any performance work on my machine, but on a gaming laptop that's thrashing all the time as it's trying to fight for resources, to get that at 60 FPS was a bit of an uphill climb. So those are the things I wanted to show you briefly, but as you know, we like to give over most of this broadcast to your questions, and I dare say you've been asking them. I do actually ask at the beginning of the broadcast to ask your questions and put question marks in, but you've probably figured that out, because I did mention the questions and answers right at the beginning. And of course, if you have any burny questions, I'm happy to answer them. So without further ado, let's see if we can do this in a smooth and orderly way. Okay, we've got a window there, live chat window, properties. You can't see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to tie in the live chat that I've popped out. So that's a pop out, click OK. You can see it, that's great. But it's slightly squashed on my preview, so I'm just going to move the window size. You know, normally this wouldn't look very professional, but look, we're developers, you see. We like to show you how it works, the inner working. It's like a maths exam, show your working out. Okay, so there you go. You can see my screen, you can see the chat, and I'm going to scroll to the top, and we're going to answer the questions in chronological order. And I hope we've been successfully broadcasting visual and audio up to this point, otherwise I'll have a little cry. So there is a question right at the first. This is from Praxa. What is being awake? Because I'm pretty sure I'm the opposite. GameGuru Max is awake, and me just about. Next question, can you please show me how to create a level map? Of course I can. That was a question from ZMoz. The way you create a level map is you start at the beginning, go into My Games, click this big plus, so My Cool Game, create game project. It creates a new project for you. We're going to be doing some work on projects, but this is our first phase project system. And then you see here it says level 1, click here to create a new level, so you click there to create a new level. Then you get to choose a biome. You can choose Arctic, desert, canyons, rainforest, mountains. I always like mountains, so once you've chosen that, you can change all these values and stuff and the time of day and trees and things, but you can just go ahead and say mountain me. And once you've given it a name, it drops your start marker in the middle of that map, and voila, you have created your level. And it's as simple as that. And how do you make a game? Well, the simplest game I can think of is drop in a character, give yourself an weapon, so I'll have an assault rifle, lots of ammo, and run. Ta-da! I've just made a game in 27 seconds. And of course, you can make your game more interesting than that. That's how you create a level. I'm sure that wasn't the actual essence of what you was fishing for, but that's definitely an answer. Let's say it was the answer you was fishing for. Okay, looking for another question mark. La 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 la. Best place to start with the Max tutorials. Definitely good advice there from the community. Where do you find those? It's the third tab in the GameGuru Max Hub. As you can see, we start with all the basics and then we go into individual sections. The videos are only like 2-3 minutes long, maybe not even that long. So it won't take you very long to watch it all. You do have the manual as well. But that's a big one, that's 300 pages. So definitely start with tutorials if your time is limited. And then once you've gone through those, you will have a handle on the scope and the extent of what you can do in GameGuru Max. And if you're joining us and you don't even have GameGuru Max, we have a free version on Steam, which lasts for 7 days, and also has all the tutorials and lets you play around with lots of stuff. There's just a few restrictions, like you can't save characters doing the character creator, but generally you can follow all the tutorials through and get a handle on if you like GameGuru Max or not. So, looking for a question. Here's a question from Loretta M. My terrain textures will not save when I save the game. What do I need to do to use alternate terrain textures? Right. At the moment, all of the terrain textures are fixed and stock. So just remember when I was doing the My Cool game, which was the mountains, all the textures are the same, but the biomes choose different textures. If I show you terrain edit mode, go to paint the floor, these here are all the textures you can choose from. The question is, can we have our own textures, polka dot, etc, etc. As you can see, you can change the texture folder here, and so if you've got your own texture folder, you just click that, point to the new texture folder, and all of these will change. So you can actually have your own custom textures, but it's not like easy peasy out of the boxy. You kind of have to know how to organize the textures, name the textures, make sure they're in the right format and the right size. But if you find that you're creating your terrain with your custom texture folder and save it or make a standalone executable and it does not work, that's a bug. It should just work. If you're competent enough to make your texture folder, just basically nicking the style and everything from the original out of the box texture folder, there should be no issues. I suspect the bug is it's just not copying over the custom texture folder. But we're going to tackle that as part of an upgrade to the project system. But as of right now today, it sounds like a bug. So if you can post it in the issues board, we can crack on with that. I do want to fix bugs before performance, and I want to fix bugs before adding new features. And that includes, in a way, the new project system. So, we're nearly to the bottom of the live chat. We may end up ending this live broadcast early. Hooray! We can all enjoy our Easter weekend. But I'm sure you're going to flood in with some last minute questions. But that's fine. I'm here to answer as many as I can before the hour is up. So let's see if we can find another one. It looks like there's one from DK Productions. Is customizable terrain now a thing in Max? Didn't use it for ages. It is a thing. It's here. Change texture folder. Polka dot. It's the Dalmatian terrain. So yes, you can do custom, but it's not like you could just go onto Google Images and just drag things in. You kind of have to leave Max and set up your own texture folder, and then launch Max and then change the texture folder here and then save the level. So yes, you can have custom terrain textures. I dare say it could be a little friendlier. Okay, actually switched back to Classic since half a year. Yeah, Classic is still in support. About 2 years ago, we promised to leave GameGuru Classic alone and make sure we fix all the bugs that were reported as they came in. And the last 7 or 8 quarters, that's the last 2 years, we've managed to either hit 0 bug count or very close to 0 bug count, because there is still a community, a GameGuru Classic community, and a lot of people have built their game projects over many years, and they're not ready to move to Max yet. So Classic is still there, it's still active. If you do find any issues, we are wanting to fix all the bugs. So if you do find... Now, we're not adding lots of new features. We have opened up the repository so the community can make contributions, and contributions have been made, and we folded them into updates for GameGuru Classic. But we're going to put a lot of our eggs for new features into the GameGuru Max side. And in a way, you don't really want us messing with Classic. We just got it to a point now where it's pretty stable, and if we start messing with it, we might be breaking your project. So that's the story of GameGuru Classic right now. A question from Blood Moon Interactive. Can you demonstrate how the bulk import feature works? I cannot, because I don't have, off the top of my head, a great big folder full of models, but I can show you how to get to it. That's fine. Go to File. Don't go to File. Don't go anywhere. Click on Add and import 3D model. Don't worry about that. And just give it, I don't know, any old model just to get you started. As you can see, it's probably not correct name to get into it, and the one model you imported may not be part of your batch, but it's just to get you in here. Once you're in here, this is where you find the import batch system, where you can actually specify a folder full of 3D models, and then once you've specified that folder, you click batch convert all, and it will essentially do what the model importer does on one object, but it just blasts through and it does all of the things that it finds inside that folder. It's there are some limits, but within the scope of what you can actually do with batch conversion. The settings that you set here will be applied to all the objects that it finds in that folder during the batch process. It doesn't stop every model and ask you to sort of tweak each setting as you go. The purpose of this is to blast out 50, 100, 200 models in one go. So you're happy with the scaling adjustments and the positions and the collision and the other settings, then you just want to apply it to 200. It's a huge time saver if that's the kind of thing you want to do. I dare say it can be improved, but we've used it for some of DLC preparations in the past, and it's worked quite well. So that's how you get at it. Bit of a sneaky way to get at it, but this was added at the end of this list. So model import, import object, and then import batch. So that's how you find it. Okay, question. 1050 was very decent a good while ago, 10 years. Yeah, and it's the, you know, it goes by different names. So the 1050 has its equivalent. I mean, I use 1050 because it's the NVIDIA designation, but AMD and Intel will have their own versions of the 1050 equivalent. But that just happens to be the one that it's in the gaming laptop. And I got the gaming laptop when VR was in its, not its infancy, but I think it was the DK1, Oculus's first developer kit, and I needed to create software that the VR could run on a laptop, and this was the minimum recommendation for running VR. It was a joke. There's no way that laptop could run fast VR, but that's what I bought, and that's what I've stuck with, and hopefully it's going to represent quite a lot of Steam systems out there. So if we can get it to run, and it has, I think we're pretty much there now, running on an i5 1050 equivalent, should run on quite a lot of lower end gaming laptops from the last 4 to 6, maybe even 10. Probably not 10 years, but yeah, you're getting the sort of ballpark. Maybe 7 years, it's probably as far back as you would go. Question, what about multiplayer for GameGuru Classic? GameGuru Classic has multiplayer. It's only using the Steam API, and currently there is a bug where you can't use your custom media. If you use stock media, that is assets and sounds and stuff that come with GameGuru Classic, and you make a level, you can actually share that multiplayer game and play it across the Steam multiplayer network. But as soon as you drop in a custom one, mileage may vary. But for those who don't know, GameGuru Classic actually does support Steam-based multiplayer. Not big multiplayer, I think it's 4 or 8 players maximum. But it is there if you want to check it out. And it mostly works. And just anyone who follows up, there are no plans to do multiplayer in GameGuru Max. I'm going to give you the answer before the inevitable question. What happened to Viral Outbreak Pack? Just wondering. Yeah, that rings a bell. Viral Outbreak. Was that not FPS Creator? Someone in the live chat, correct me if I'm wrong. But my brain's sort of designating in a forward direction, so I'd have to go back quite a way. Remember the Viral Outbreak Pack. So someone can confirm whether that's an FPS Creator. Because when we did model packs for FPS Creator, we got up to like model pack 78. I imagine it's one of those. I think it was maybe the one created by the legendary Mark Blosser. I'm not sure. Okay, a question from Praxa. How long until we could look at getting video for the storyboard panel? It's an area that would go a long way. I think that's already been posted in the GitHub as a feature request, and there has been a few community members who totally want video. What the request is, just in case anyone doesn't know what that is. Go back to the storyboard, and you have your main menu, then you go to a loading screen, then you play level 1, then maybe there's another screen in level 2. Some people want to insert like another screen here, and all it is, similar to like the splash screen, it's just a video. And so you can sort of preview it here, and then so you leave level 1, you watch a little video, and then you go to level 2. Now you can actually do that right now, but it's not in the storyboard. What you'd have to do is go and find the, come on Lee, what are the video icons mean? There you go, add video zone, and drop it over the top of your start marker, and then provide a video file here, and then when this level starts it will play the video. It's not really a workaround, that's just the way it was. That's how the way we wanted to sort of trigger a video, because you might want to start the level and trigger a different video based on some Lua script values, etc. But there has been an increasing request to have the storyboard do more stuff, you know, to almost express a little bit of logic at the storyboard level, much like you can have these logic for if you win, go here, if you lose, go here, if you do. And so you can see visually your logic play out. So that's really the request, and I think it is in the issues board. But as I went, and I'm in danger of repeating myself, bugs, top priority, then performance, then stability, then compatibility, and then feature requests. And we're pretty unshakable on that particular order. Coming down to here. Is this you won, Lee? Congrats. Hooray! What did I win? Maybe an egg. Okay, next question. This is from Blood Moon. Do you mean like minimap? Okay, so there's some help going on in parallel to what I'm talking about. And we're nearly at the bottom. We've nearly finished this, hooray! So, we've got plenty of time. Mr. Buzzards, what about App Game Kit? GameGuru Max does not support App Game Kit. App Game Kit is another game making, app making product that TGC sell, and we sell it through Steam. Rather than this, like GameGuru Max style thing, where you just basically dragging and dropping with a bit of logic. App Game Kit is a programming language, and you're going to have to learn programming language to use it. So if you find that we're making too many decisions for you in the assumptions that GameGuru Max brings to the table, and you want to throw it all away and just write it from scratch, one line of code at a time, then App Game Kit is your choice. And App Game Kit presently can export to Windows and Mac and Linux and iOS and Android. I think there's a community effort to export to Raspberry Pi, and I think one or two others. So it's a pretty cool product. Go check it out. And just as an aside, I know it's not really App Game Kit broadcast, but we have started fleshing out a new GitHub repository where we're putting as much in there as possible, source code, build steps. So if you wanted to add your own functionality and commands, you don't have to wait for us. You can go in and add your own stuff, fork it, or if you want, you can create branches and submit it to the official product, and if it passes the test, it goes into a future update. So that's a little bit about what on earth is App Game Kit. Where's my arrow? There it is. Okay, next question. And I'd really like to know the average GPU these days. Go on to Steam. They publicise all of the stats. I think it's one of the things you agree to when you get the Steam client, that they can raid your computer for some juicy info, and it gives you like the most popular and a percentage of 80% of people have at least this kind of GPU, and you find there's like 2% of the population you've got like a monster graphics card, and then 60% have the middle of the road. The 1050 is not middle of the road, it's quite low end, but that's deliberately why we picked the 1050. So if we support the 1050 and it works great, you can imagine all the cards that are faster and newer work even greater. Okay, and Viral Outbreak is in the free GameGuru Classic DLC. There you go. So that's the answer. Yes, it's FPS Creator. So there's multiple answers. You get to pick your own answer today. Make sure I don't miss a question. Yeah, MP was amazing on custom maps. Well, when we was doing the testing many years ago, that's kind of all we were doing. Once we'd finished the Game Maker, we were just creating our own silly maps that only we knew how to win. So we'd put our own hiding places in the level and then invite other people who didn't know the map, and you could just snipe them and then run into secret places with lots of health. It was great fun, I agree. Okay, and looks like this is the next question from Dudes3. Hey, good night to you. The bug is already fixed. I see about RX600. You had due to a week's GitHub. Yeah, the fix that's currently in place, it's a DXVK workaround, but we're actually forcing in an abstraction in order to run it under Vulkan, which has slightly better mileage than the pure DX11 that GameGuru Max is written in. The proper fix is to get rid of that hack and actually find out why DX11 is producing black 3D graphics on some AMDs. So if this card arrives and I can't reproduce it, I may agree with you that we've just fixed it, and if it is still happening, maybe it's just an old version and the latest version has not been updated to. That could be it. I might have to send my entire PC to Lee to figure out what's going on. Please don't. I cannot take responsibility for your PC in the UK postal system. It will come to me just in bits, in 5 or 17 bits. Both systems work well. Yeah, the 1050 was one of the main cards years ago, and 1050 Ti, for anyone who doesn't know, Ti is like the boosted version of the standard card, where they just gave you a few more clocks back and a bit more resource. And is this a question? Any free buys today for GameGuru Max with Happy Holidays? Yes. go on to our news section. You'll find Happy Easter, which sends you a link to Steam, and that will give you the Easter gift kit completely free. Download it and then go and find, there's a level, I think it's called Easter gift kit, and you load that up and you got a nice little game to play where you are a rabbit and you got to collect eggs, and then you get transported through a magic door to a castle, and then you collect some more eggs, and then you're going to rescue the princess. Nice little Easter game. So, and of course, this is GameGuru Max, so you can create any kind of game you want with an Easter theme. Okay, it looks we're at the bottom of the live chat. We are 38 minutes in, so there's still at least 20 minutes to go if anyone's got any questions. But I will be pressing the stop button and then preparing this video for YouTube if there's literally no more questions. And as always, if the questions come leaking in towards the end and I'm already saying my goodbyes, please tune in again next month and make it one of the first questions you asked. Because I do have to remind people from time to time that if you do have a question, just throw it in. Even when people are saying hello, get your question in first. You're guaranteed to get, if not the answer you want, certainly an answer. So, questions. I will get camping van and da-da-da-da-da. Okay. What debug test build does? Ooh, well done, 3Com. You spotted that, did you? Anyone who's familiar with the EXP builds, if you go onto Steam and then Steam product page properties and then beta tab, you can have a drop down. Not only does it give you the ability to go into the EXP, which is experimental branch, which gets updated practically every other day as we keep adding and fixing and tweaking. There's also all the backdated versions of GameGuru Max. Every time we do an update, whether it be a quarterly update or a monthly update, we tag that, so you can always jump back to a previous version. There was a complaint not too long ago, actually, where extreme frustration caused by this user being on a particular build. We push out an update, the update would change certain things, and the user didn't want things to change. They wanted it the same so they can finish their game project. All you've got to do is go into the beta drop down and pick one of those previous dates, like 2023.12.12 or something like that. That's just an example. And then it will lock in that version. It won't auto update anything. It will keep you on that version. The only downside is that when we do bug fixes, you don't get access to those bug fixes because you've effectively switched off auto update when you lock in on that earlier version, because we don't update older versions. We use them as a way to create little milestone flags so you can always go back if things go horrible. So that's a little bit of info for you. But the extra branch that was spotted, the debug one, that was properly debugged. That's basically got message boxes shoved in it just to figure out how far the launch got before it crashed. So it's not really for anyone's particular eyes. It's probably for one user who's got a bug that is really difficult to find. And so for the purposes of finding and fixing that bug, for that one user, that's what that branch is used for. So I would stay well clear of that unless you're just curious and you want to see what a utterly debugged build looks like. But it won't be useful to you. Okay, here's another question. This is from Zmoz. I guess I should have asked, how do I make a minimap? It's quite easy, actually. Let me show you how. Let's use this example. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Of course you can. Delete hub. That's stage 1. So you see how you deleted that. Now click on this. Add RPG screens. Boing. It replaces the in-game HUD from the first-person shooter to the RPG inventory and stamina and magic, all that kind of thing. Included in that, in the top right, is this lovely looking minimap, but you need to do a little bit more before we can have some fun. And what is that? Well, you need to create a map. You know, you're going to know where you are, etc. So we'll go into here and I'll show you how this works. So this is a game, not much of a game, admittedly. And we're going to create some building. So we got some buildings here. Sorry, I'm being very crude, but you'll get the idea. And then we'll save that. What I usually do, because I create so many projects in test, I got in the habit of taking a screenshot just so I can see generally what this level's about. But whilst you're doing that, and obviously you can keep doing this, is take map screenshot. See what it's done? This is the entire terrain, because obviously your minimap needs to have the entire terrain. Now the actual buildings that I dropped down are probably little dots somewhere in here. But you take that map, use new map screenshot, boom, and it's stored. So now if we go into the game and press that, see that in the top right, you've got a minimap. That red dot, which I'm going near, is the enemy. The enemy. And the white dot is me. And also, if you go into M, you can actually zoom in. Whoa. Don't do that. And when you've zoomed in, the actual minimap zooms in as well. Ha! Yeah. So that's the short, quick version of the minimap. And one extra little bonus of that is when you do the snapshot and it creates the map view, you can open that as a PNG, I think it's a PNG, and you can replace it. You can replace it with like a realistic map of basically a top down of this terrain, and have like a crinkly antique or ancient map, and then you can overdraw your real top down 3D graphics with something that might be more cartographer sort of style. So that's why we've left. Again, there's probably improvements we can make where you can just do that here in the software in some sort of mini art package, but for now you find it as an external file sitting alongside the FPM of each of the levels, because remember, each level is going to have a different map. So that's how you do minimaps in GameGuru. No, that's not how you do it in GameGuru Classic, but it is how you do it in GameGuru Max. Because we've been talking about Classic, my brain's now in 2 lines. Right, lovely new questions coming in. Thank you for these. Is it bad to multitask triggers? Multitask triggers? There is no user-based multitasking in GameGuru Max. All the multitasking is done in the engine in the background. You don't need to worry about it. We take care of end threading all of the processes. In fact, that's a big part of how we've been able to improve the performance of GameGuru Max. But I'm assuming that's not what you mean by multitask. But if you're talking about is it bad to multitask triggers, you can do whatever you want with the trigger. Triggers are good. In fact, that's the whole purpose of having them. For example, let's say this character here, let's say by default you don't show the character at the start of the level, but when you walk into this zone, then you connect a logic zone, little head, and now you're in the logic connection mode, and I can connect that zone to that character. And now when I walk into this zone area, it's always a good idea if you're doing something like this is to paint the floor so you know where the zone is, because this outline disappears when you play the game. As soon as I walk into this zone, that character will appear. So that's basically the most basic idea of how you would use a trigger. But if you want to go into more details, feel free to do so. A trigger zone to spawn an enemy and turn on a light and play a sound. Yeah, you would just chain them, wouldn't you? So you walk into a zone, there's the character. If you want also to switch on a light, you do that too. And again, you can connect that to that. You can connect up to 10 different things to a zone, or connect 10 things to another thing, and they'll chain as well. So that will trigger that, which then triggers that, which then triggers that. You get the idea. And this is sort of relatively new. Everyone knows how to drag in objects, but figuring out how to add visual logic, we're still early days on that. But it's all working, and if it doesn't, then it's a bug, and you can report it on the issues board. So yeah, feel free to use multiple logic links from a zone. It's absolutely how it's been designed to work. Okay, is this a question mark? The days with debug tests make crazy for me. Understand the bug I get before. Okay, here's a question from JBirdMax. Is stacking zones on top of each other, each doing multiple things in various places in my level? Yeah, you could do that. I mean, sometimes you have to do that. Let's say this zone here, you may also want to play a video, and you may also want to play a sound effect, and you may also want to add some music. That's actually fine. It's a bit of a mess to read through all the different overlapping icons, but yeah, many game levels do that, and that's just a way to get on instead of having to have one specific script that does 8 things. Just overlay 4 zones, each one having its own behaviour. That's absolutely fine. There's no issues there, and there's no performance hit from it. GameGuru Max, get another example for test, or get more ideas to insert on engine. Don't really understand that question, sorry. Maybe you could rephrase. Here's a question from Praxar. Is it possible to import your own image for the minimaps so you can get a stylized version? See previous answer, and the answer is yes. You just have to go into the map bank, find the FPM, that's the name of your level. So this one will be Mountain Me, and you'll find something called mountainme.png. Open that in a package and you'll see the massive terrain. You can just colour that with a nice parchment colour, and then use a sort of an overlay system to then sketch in your version of how the map should look, or do some photo effects on your terrain map. There's lots of ways you can go about it, and at the moment that's how you do it. And if you've got any ideas, so you think, you know what, this is a bit long-winded, what about doing it this way, then post it as a feature request in the issues board, because I think at some point in the future we don't really want people who use GameGuru Max to have to leave GameGuru Max and use some other thing. Windows Explorer, art packages, 3D modelers, audio tools. You really just want to be able to stay in Max and do all of the things that you want to do up to a level. So ultimately that would be really nice if we ended up with that. Question, I just jumped. Oh no, I think I jumped back, that's what it was. Okay, and fixed NVIDIA card. Here we go. I think this is the next new question, isn't it? Yes, it is. This is from Dudeschwer3. About VR use with GameGuru Max. Do you build it, play it? Any news or anything for activate ray tracing option in GameGuru Max? There's no plans to support ray tracing in GameGuru Max. VR is already in GameGuru Max at a basic level. It's not going to be the be-all and end-all VR game maker. That's probably another product. But if you have a VR headset, we're supporting OpenXR, so it supports quite a number of the headsets, but you won't get it by default. What you gotta do is pledge to the software that you are ready for it. You'll find it in developer section. Ensure you have correctly configured your OpenXR runtime, that's important, as OpenXR needs to know which VR device you are using. If you understand what that means, then you should tick this box, and when you do, you get a new button in the toolbar, test level in VR. VR is fun. It's just fun. Creating a little level and then running around it like in properly first person perspective. And you can sort of loop around columns and things like that. Very cool. But it's not for everyone, and it's only a basic implementation of VR. If you think there's more that we can do, well, GitHub features board is where it needs to be. And as always, if you find a bug, post that right away, because then, as I say, we drop performance, we drop stability, so we can fix them bugs. Next question. Oh, here's it. What did I miss? A lot. You missed 50 minutes. But you're in for the last 5, so that's great. Oh yeah, say Dark Winter Studios literally just said that. Thank you very much. And this is the last post. Last post and 6 minutes left. 8 minutes left. Thank you so much for all your support. You and the others and have been so patient and supportive. That's what we do. We have a great community. We help each other. We have ideas. We are constantly getting lead to work faster, which is fine. But that's what it's all about, isn't it? We're all in this together. We all want a game maker that is intuitive, easy, hassle-free, fast, stable, does what it says on the tin. But because we're such a small team, it's taking a long time. But if you can accept that fact, we'll very, very slowly get there until we're at a point where it's like, okay, I'm happy with this. I'm actually now going to call it a version 1, and I don't really need all the other feature requests. We're not there yet. I don't think we're not there by a long chalk, because these bugs and these performance things and stability, they're critical. We need to get them out the way, and then we're going to talk about not necessarily shiny, massive new features, just functionality improvements, little quality of life additions to the software, just to get you on to the next thing without doing donkey work or hassle tasks. Looks like chat is moving through to another question. Nice old times, Dirt Basic. Hee hee hee. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, in the live chat, Dirt Basic was one of the original programming languages that I was involved in on the PC. Lets you make games and apps, mostly games, and we put it on. They don't do them anymore. It was called a cover disc. It was a CD glued to the front of a magazine, and you peeled it off, and we provided free versions of Dirt Basic, and we got quite a following from that, and it was a pretty decent programming language too. Went on for many years. Alas, no longer for sale, but you can find it out there in the ether if you're determined. There's a few links that still work, and in fact, quite recently I was asked for it, and I have set it up somewhere with a link to what I think is the most latest version of Dirt Basic. I think it's 1.21 or something. But I digress. We've only got 6 minutes left, and you came here to listen about GameGuru Max, not AGK or Dirt Basic. I think our programming languages products have outnumbered the non-programming languages one, but that's just how we roll. Okay, another question. This is from Praxar. Praxar is holding up the side here for asking the questions. Is the loading screen going to get any love when you guys get a feature as well? I just thought I'll add that on there. Loading screen, yeah, it's a bit basic, isn't it? It lets you put in an image and your loading bar, and that's it. And you can put your there, and you can put your thing there, and that's kind of it. If you have any suggestions on what it really needs, maybe an animating background, etc., just use the GitHub issues board. It's better to get the idea out into the world and sitting there. Maybe somebody comes along who wants to contribute to GameGuru Max repository and adds it for you, whilst Lee's fixing the bugs. Any new RPG features? I don't think so. At least I haven't written any. I think Necrim has written tons. Let's have a look, shall we? I've set up a system now where, for the most part, I'm trying to make sure I've got a. Yeah, let's put that in so I can get to the behaviour panel. These are all the behaviours we currently have. RPG. So. And it's not because I'm lazy, it's just I really am focused on bug fixes and performance. And I've set up a system where a lot of Necrim's contributions are almost automatically moved through the testing validation process, and then they appear like 24 hours later on the workshop, which then makes it into the next EXP build. Don't worry that you see double of everything. The one that hasn't got by Necrim, that's the one that's out of the box. And the chances are the Necrim one is slightly a newer version if there's been an update on workshop. So this comes from the workshop. But you get the idea. I'll just scroll through slowly. I won't give you an exhaustive narration of what you're looking at. And this isn't all behaviours and only these behaviours that you'll use for RPG. It's just we had to categorise them. So we have split. It's very RPG flavoured. It goes in here. If it's kind of more of a puzzle element, that could be more than RPG, then it goes in puzzle. And you get the idea. So you can go all the way down. Raiders, resource collection, construction, and of course spells. You have spells. And puzzles. You can see the distinction. These could be used in a sci-fi, first person. You get the idea. Generally, you could probably just go to view all, and that's your choice right now. So yeah, I imagine there have been some additions to the RPG category. All you're going to do is have a bit of a browse and see what you think, and let us know what you think. Okay, 3 minutes to go, so it looks like we're going to run out of time to get all the questions in, but we'll keep going. App Game Kit Studio is successor to Dirt Basic, right? No. App Game Kit Studio is successor to Dirt Basic Pro. Dirt Basic Pro was the successor to Dirt Basic. Dirt Basic was the successor to a game called Pobs. That was when I was writing a graphics engine, a games engine really, in like DirectX 3 or 2 or 4. They skipped a number. But that was sort of my cutting my teeth on the very, very early 3D stuff. Back in the day when you actually had two graphics cards, one for your 2D and one for your 3D. Yes, believe it, that's absolutely true. Okay, another question. This is from Necrim. Hello Necrim. I hope it's not too early for you, or too late. Is it possible to get support for animated images for HUD use? PNG in games and HUDs. Add it to the feature requests, but I know what you mean. You want to be able to, instead of just specifying a static image, at the very least like a 4x4 tile with an animation on it. You kind of can do that with decals, but imagine you want that inside the HUD screen, for example. This is the HUD. Let's say you wanted to have your inventory and have a nice little rotating icon here with like 16 frames of animation, spinny, spinny, spinny. You can't currently do that on the HUD screens. So if it's not already in there, put it down as a feature request, because I think that's actually a good idea. Next question. I need some ideas to recreate on a that's no question. Irish, everybody English from Portugal. No worries, everyone's welcome here. And just keep asking the question in different ways. Eventually I'll get it right. Probably the last question now. This is a new question from Sarusoft. Flight sim question mark. I don't see it happening, but we're waiting for Jetpack. Yeah, Jetpack was in GameGuru Classic, and we removed it for GameGuru Max. Whether it just goes back verbatim into Max, who knows? But I think the opportunity is not just put the jetpack back, but a whole vehicle system for driving, flying, swimming, submersibles, riding. You get the idea. So instead of just a jetpack will be just one kind of aeronautical vehicle that just happens to strap to you. In terms of when, that's a feature, and that's probably a big shiny feature. So the when is after bug fixing, performance, stability and compatibility, and everyone agrees that the game maker ain't broke no more. And then once we get to that general community agreement, let's talk about flying things, because I think that would be fun to do. So we're at 59 minutes in, and no more questions. So we did get to the end of the live broadcast, and we got all the questions that were asked answered. So I'm very pleased that we got to that little milestone. I will be back next month. That's the last Saturday of April, so at 7 p.m. GMT, or it might be BST now, British Summer Time. So you might want to look that up so you don't miss us by a whole hour. If you've got any questions and you didn't have a chance to ask them this time and you want to tune in next month, write them down and then post them in right at the start when the broadcast first begins, and you'll get the answers right away. And also, if you want me to demonstrate something before we get into the Q&A, some little demo, I just plucked them out the air based on what I've last remember as being slightly fascinating, and so that's what I talk about. But if there's something that you really want to see and see me use, then that I think will be a good show and tell as well. So get those ready. And in terms of that show and tell stuff, drop me an email at lee@thegamecreators.com, because I'll need to do some prep work if I'm going to do a proper show and tell for you. And we do have an hour. I mean, we spend most of it on Q&A, but I'd be quite happy to spend half an hour just buzzing around the software, showing you different things. That would be fine. So thanks again for joining us from around the world. I know it's different time zones for different people, but it's just about 8 p.m. now here in the UK, so I'm pretty happy to talk in the evening. Probably wouldn't want it to be any later. And I hope that it's been a success moving it from what used to be a Wednesday broadcast to Saturday. So people who have a Monday to Friday job no longer have to make that choice now. I can just tune in over the weekend. So until next month, the last Saturday of April at 7 p.m, possibly British Summer Time, I shall say thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and good night.